On the one hand, there are extreme fears that digital technologies and artificial intelligence, robotics will destroy a lot of jobs. We usually hear about jobs in the middle of the skills distribution, but if you look at the numbers, they're saying that there will be a lot of job destruction. You read anything between 10 to 15%, some go up to half the jobs over the next 20 years. On the other hand, unemployment rates are at an all-time low, employment rates are high, and when you put the two together, you're saying, well, one of them must be wrong, and usually it's the one who doesn't have the factual evidence that is wrong. In my view, the fears about digitalization and what it will do to labor markets are completely misplaced. What the challenge is going to be is the transition to new types of jobs, but not that there won't be enough jobs to do. The labor market, an economy that has the ability to generate almost any number of jobs. I mean, we have economies in the world of many different sizes, yet they all have more or less the same employment rates. About 70% of the population works. They have low unemployment rates. They range from 3 to 6, 7%, irrespective of size. Then you might ask, if there is fear that an economy will not be able to create jobs, how come we see the big economies creating as many jobs as the small economies? The answer is that the factors that go to job creation are not really related to the technology that is available. The type of jobs that are created are related to technology, but the number of jobs is not. And that's because there is a very big service sector in the economy that can create any number of jobs that you wish to have. So what we're observing now in our economies is that conditions are such that there are a lot of jobs being created which are not the typical job that we used to have even 20 years ago. There is a gig economy, there are what we call zero-hour contracts, there is employment on demand, you know, the kind of Airbnb type of job where you require someone to do a service for you, you call them, they do the service for you, and they are not employed in an office or anywhere on a 9-to-5 basis. And those jobs have proliferated recently. They are not, to the eyes of many workers, the old type of secure job where you are there with a pension and your annual vacation leave and you retire at age 65. They are different, they are more insecure jobs. Maybe they are not as rewarding. And I think societies, through their governments, should work to making those jobs more attractive to workers in terms of rewards and in terms of working conditions. But there are still jobs, and some of them are being helped by new digital technologies. You know, Uber and Airbnb that we mentioned are examples. Some are created in sectors of the economy that have nothing to do with the digital technologies. It's not the technologies that are determining the number. The technologies are determining the type. You know, if you want a taxi service, then Uber relies on the new technologies. Had we not have the digital technologies, there wouldn't have been an Uber, but there would have been some years. You know, the traditional taxi office where you call with your telephone and they come and pick you up and take you from A to B. So we should be able to distinguish the two. Well, the traditional job position, in its vast majority, is a position that is in an office or in a factory. You go there in the morning, you work, you leave in the afternoon, you have an employee. It was centralized within the company. You have an employer, you know who they are. That employer pays you your monthly wage. That employer contributes to your Social Security fund, to your pension. You agree with the employer the annual vacation leave you're going to have. And if you are in an office which needs cleaning, you tell your employer and he cleans it. If you are too hot and you need an air conditioner, you will talk to, that's the traditional arrangement. These jobs are not like that. You don't have an office. The Uber driver or the one who works on demand, the sharing economy, they stay at home, they get a phone call, come and do such and such a job, they go, they do it, they go back home. They don't have an employer effectively. Some of them are like self-employed people, others are like casual labor where you do some jobs and then you go back home. Others are working on their own account, creating nothing basically now, but looking to create something in the future, thinking of the new startup, as it were. And these jobs leave people with something you desire in terms of a career that you feel safe, you feel that there is some protection around you that is provided by the employer. If you are sick, what happens, for example, if you're with an employer, you're going to get sick leave, some pay, some help. If you're in these economies, there is nothing, in these types of jobs, there is nothing you can do. And that's why I think that we need to take a hard look at these types of jobs and see how we could offer a kind of protection. It might be the same as, it might parallel the traditional one, but you cannot cut and paste for sure because we live in different conditions. But one that will satisfy the worker doing it, that they have something secure around them to be proud of as a job, well compensated, that will give them a future in the labor market to which they can look forward to. How we do it is not straightforward. I cannot tell you now you have to do A, B, C, and D, and everything will be done. But it's certainly something that needs deeper study because we don't want to get it wrong from the beginning. We have to make sure that what we're doing is based on good foundations, good knowledge of how the labor market works. And we hope that in the Luohan Academy we're going to have research projects in that area as they apply to China, because there are also different applications across countries. Yes, well, you see, because the destruction of jobs is more sensational in a way, or, jobs will be destroyed, wow, it's like war. Creation of jobs is the one that really matters for people because that's what you're going to move into. But in a sense, it's a little bit boring to start saying, oh, don't worry, in the future there will be jobs created in such and such a sector. I think the sectors that will dominate are the sectors that cannot be documented with big data sets, and therefore we cannot program computers to do the work. They're usually sectors that involve direct human contact in the service economy. The health and care sector is going to be the most important, I think, partly because of aging populations, but also because as societies grow and mature, as living standards mature, we have more demands about the quality of health. In China, it's going to be a massive sector of expansion because currently it employs a very small number of people compared with other countries, even at comparable levels of development, because in China there is much more reliance on the family for care, especially to look after older people, young people, sick people. It's not necessarily sick, child care, old people's home. You usually rely on the family. The parents look after small children, and when the children grow up, they look after their aging parents. That model breaks up with economic development, usually. Then the hospitality and travel industry. A lot of Chinese people travel. You see them everywhere in Europe, visiting tourist sites, and you see Europeans and other Western people coming to China. That sector, the hospitality sector, providing good quality hotel accommodation, good restaurants, good facilities in cultural, historical sites. You do have exceptionally good hotels in China, but maybe not enough for mass tourism coming this direction. Those will be job creation sectors again, and all kinds of other jobs that involve the service economy, which cannot be routinely programmed. Even real estate maintenance. You have urban environments, looking after this infrastructure that you have. These jobs would remain in human hands. I think what we should look for here is protection from the government and the law, rather than unions, because the way that work is organized now, it is not one that can be unionized easily, and you don't have, and also on the employer side is not one where you have an employer where you can go into collective bargaining to protect workers' rights and progress. Where you are in this kind of situation, then you have to rely on your government and on the legal framework that the government builds around jobs. And the law ultimately is better protection of the worker than any trade union can provide. There is labor law highly developed in many countries. We have in my own university at the London School of Economics, we have this very active research program in the labor law also elsewhere. And basically it's by studying how we can implement what we know about the protection of workers' rights and how we can make it a more progressive type of protection looking forward into career development in the future, and enact that in legislation with very easily accessible dispute resolutions. We need to build an entirely new framework around jobs that is going to be different from the one we had around collective bargaining. I mean, remember there was no such thing as trade unions and collective bargaining before industrialization. The first of developed in Great Britain, which had the first industrial revolution just after industrialization, early 19th century. So we have close to 2 centuries of experience in union development. What I'm saying in new framework, we have 20 years of experience. So obviously we need to be patient, but we do need to progress rapidly in this direction.